Hello and welcome to the Any Art Netty baking channel. Now we're going to be having plum and cinnamon jam, which is really seasonal. You see plums, they're ripe, and also sugar, that's a jam sugar. Now this is the brand I'm using here, Tate & Lyle 1:1 jam sugar, which has got the pectin already in it. Lemon to be used as a preservative. There's cinnamon sticks and ground cinnamon, good flavour combination, and some butter. So the first thing I'm going to do, and I've kind of adapted this recipe since, but it turned out fine. The one that you're actually seeing in this turned out fine, but I wanted to adapt it a bit more as time grew by. So we've added water to those, and we're just gonna let them boil over until the skin is able to peel off, and that's when you know that they're ready then for the rest of the ingredients to be added. So we're just going to check them now, and I made sure that the water was just over the top of the plums, so you can see that skin's peeling off now. Great. So as for recipe quantities, I have changed that since, and there's a recipe in the description below that you can print off and follow, and as you can see at the beginning in the title, it combines art and baking, so there'll be little elements to colour in and things like that. So some of my recipes you'll have a art tutorial as well on top of that. So I've added the sugar. I'm just adding the ground cinnamon now into that. The sticks are to actually go in the jars. Now it's more kind of a decoration thing, but it does add a more depth of flavour. So now you're going to add your lemon juice, and we're going to let that come to the boil. And the thing about making jam is to make sure that you get it at the right temperature, because once you've hit that correct temperature, that's when it's going to start setting. And if you follow everything correct, that's the technique that you want to get right with jam making. There's nothing tricky about it, and I'd highly recommend that you get a jam temperature. What's it called? A jam temperature. Can't think of the word. I'll put it in text just below there. So make sure you get one of them, and you can't go wrong then. There is a technique which I'll show in this. It didn't go quite right because I think I put too much water in. Now I'm just skimming off the top there. See that fruit on the top that's gone onto there? Just skimming that off, because it doesn't look very pretty when you've put it in the jar. It's just for it does look a bit weird if you leave that in, and it's a good technique to skim that off as well. So the only tricky thing is making sure that you've got to the right temperature. Otherwise, everything else is pretty simple. But like I say, there is a technique for doing that should you not have the jam temperature doodah. Now let me look that up, because I can't keep saying that, can I? Jam temperature gauge, thermometer, jam temperature thermometer. Dear me. So let me tell you a bit about myself. Now, my name is Netty. A lot of people think my name's Any or Amy. It's Netty. I primarily am an art YouTuber. Now, I've got a very, very tiny audience of 300 odd lovely people who for some reason subscribed and liked the video, so that's awesome. I mean, I just do it for my own confidence. Now, I really, really like cooking, and I've got into it more. Now, one sec, you can see the spoon there. If you lift it up in the back and there's still crystals on it, I'll get back to what I was saying, by the way. That means that you need to continue to heat it, because there needs to be no sugar crystals in it. They need to be completely dissolved. So, going back to the art. I really like cooking, and I wanted to kind of combine art and cooking together, and I decided to put it on its own channel so as not to really confuse the art more, because I wanted to concentrate just on the art and the cooking, and then the art not so much, but it's got a little element of it to it. So I hope that explains it. I also have a gaming channel because I really like, now and again I'll do it, more of a little relaxing hobby than anything. And then I've also got a channel where I make fan-made music video edits. That's called Wuzza Photography. If anyone was wondering and they'd seen it, Wuzza is a reference to David Bowie, because he makes kind of a, when he speaks, like that. That's why I call it. I'm a big Bowie fan and obsessive, and always have been, and I think he's brilliant. So anyway, that explains that. So they're all my different channels, and I put a lot of me photography on there, so collections from a beach, from different parts of the UK and things like where I've visited Spain, and upload them with nice music and things like that. So hope that explains all the channels. All the links will be in the description should you be interested. So we're going to take those plums out now, because the skins come off them and they're nice and tender. They're just at the right stage there to take them out, and all that's left is a nice fruity cinnamon syrup kind of thing, really, isn't it? So yeah. Now, before you do any of that, I would highly recommend, I'd say absolutely do this, do not leave this step out, is to sterilise your jars. Now, the way I do it, everyone will have their own different method. The standard one is to wash them out with boiling hot water and dish soap, and then put them in the oven for about 10-15 minutes. Now you can see that liquid is coming to the boil there, just to let you know what's going on in the video. Put them in the oven for 10 minutes, and then you let that heat up, and that's going to take any germs off, because you can't see germs. You can't just look at it and go, well, that's clean. You don't want Satan's furry helmets, Satan's furry jam hats at all. That's just not nice, especially if you're giving them as a nice gift, because I think people like to receive jam. I think it's nice and homemade, a lovely gift to give someone. So you don't want that happening. Obviously it's really disappointing if you've put your little wax seal on it, you've got your nice gingham material, and then you open it up and there's all fungi all over, fungalitis and what have you. So you don't want that. So just please do not skip that step if you're making your own jam. Now, the way I do it, I've got a vegetable steamer. Obviously I do that process first of washing them with hot soapy water, then leave them to dry, make sure all the soap has come off it. Again, just wash them with hot boiling water, as hot as possible, and then I put them in the vegetable steamer, which has got to be 100% clean, so make sure that is as well. Every process you can do to sterilise it, do not skip that step. So you can see that's lovely and coming to the boil now. So any minute now, maybe in a few minutes, I shall show you the technique that you can use if you do not have, now I remember the word, a jam thermometer. But I'm going to get one because I've noticed my jam is too set. It goes too gooey and things like that. So I'm still learning, so I thought everything that I've learned I'll pass on in a video. And again, it's more for my baking confidence as well, but adding the art element to it, somebody might like to colour in the designs or something like that. So here we go. I'm going to add those plums again. They've been mashed up and they're going straight in again there. And we're going to let them stir in and develop all the flavours. And I think you could actually put in yellow plums as well, and all kinds of different ones to add even more depth of flavour. So what I've done is I've put a saucer in the freezer for about half an hour, and I'll show you why as well. That's what you'll use instead of your jam thermometer. That'll be coming up soon. I shall show you that. And you can see it's boiling away there. And hopefully at this stage now all the sugar is dissolved. And yeah, you've got that, just that stuff to skim off the top as well, see, so I'd highly recommend doing that. The correct temperature, if you can hear scratching, that's my cat scratching at his scratch post. So I'm just going to mash them up a bit more. The correct temperature for jam will read about 105 degrees Celsius, something like that I think. So one of the techniques for sterilising the jars is, I've just found out, is to wash jars and lids in the lids as well, in hot soapy water, rinse, then place on a baking tray and put it in a low oven for 10 minutes until completely dry. If you want to use rubber seals, remove the seals and cover in just boiled water. Make sure you sterilise any funnels as well, that's a good point. Ladles or spoons. Just whatever you do, don't skip that. That's great advice, and that comes from the BBC goodfood.com website. So some of the tips I've found is to use the biggest pan you can, especially if you're going to be batch making them. So what I'd recommend is, if you're going to be making 2 batches, don't just double up on the ingredients. That's trying to cut corners kind of thing, so don't do that. I'm just wiping down there because I've got a bit of spillage, and obviously with jam, with it being very sugary and sticky, I didn't want it to stick to that hob. So yeah, don't just double up on the ingredients, because it's just doesn't happen. There's almost like a scientific thing going on to this, so I wouldn't do it. So instead, do it in 2 batches if you're going to think about doubling up. I wouldn't recommend it. And again, I'd recommend using ripe plums. And if you are using ripe plums, make sure to use your lemon juice. It is a good thing to put in anyway, because it is a natural preservative. And of course, if you're putting them away for a year or so, you want it to be still good when you open it. So if your plums are unripe, you can maybe leave out that step, but to be honest with you, I'd still put it in, because of nature. Lemon juice is so good anyway, so yeah, I wouldn't leave that out, if I'm honest, but that's entirely up to you. Some people know the old family recipe and they never change it at all, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So yeah, I hope that gives you some information about jam making, and hopefully we can help each other with tips and everything like that in the description below. But like I say, I have changed some of my techniques and things like that since making this video. I'm just catching up now with some videos, so yeah, so we all chop and change and improve our recipes, don't we? So yeah, we shall just leave that to boil for a while, and I shall get back to you when that's done. So we're just checking them with the back of the spoon to see it's all dissolved, and we can't see any sugar crystals there, which is fantastic. So that's a good sign that we've got to a good point within the jam making. Now then, we've got butter and we've got cinnamon sticks. They're the only other ingredients we've got to add, really. So yeah, that chopping board was a present off a friend. So yeah, here we go. So here's the plate, which has been in the freezer for about half an hour. You don't need it, so it's absolutely freezing cold. Now what you need to do is get about a teaspoon of the jam, and be very careful because it is hot, and put it onto the plate. So we're just gonna, yeah, it is absolutely hot, and if that gets on your skin it will be very hot. We're just gonna pop the butter in there, and the cinnamon sticks, we're gonna add them as well. But if you don't want to do that, you can add them later on. But I just wanted that extra bit of sweetness and flavour from the cinnamon sticks. So make sure that that butter is completely melted in. Now I remember now, I didn't actually show the test with the freezer which has been in the plate, but you basically get a teaspoon of the, again very carefully because it is hot, so making sure one cinnamon stick is in each of those jars, by the way. So, and then put it onto the frozen plate, and it should wrinkle. Now I've done this again because in this part 2 bit I'm going to be making cherry jam. Be very careful here. I'd use a funnel because that could have easily burnt me, and I've learnt from that not to do that ever again. So yeah, and you can see it's very liquidy as well, but by the time it's set absolutely fine, and I think I owe that to the pectin and to the lemon juice. Now I can feel people who are watching this are shouting at me because look, bare hands, just pouring this hot liquid in like a complete noob, shall we say. But it was very tasty. I didn't actually end up burning myself, but don't do that. Learn from my mistakes. Do not do that. Very silly and not very responsible. Yeah, use a jam funnel. I think this was one of my first times making jam, actually. I think I made a strawberry. Oh, I put too much in that. I think I made a strawberry one before this. It was really nice, and it went in a Victoria sponge. And I think that recipe is up on this channel, so I'll put the link for that in the description as well. So just filling them up. I think I've got, how many jars have I got there? Like 6, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I think there was just enough. So just add that last cinnamon stick there, and we're done. Just get the little wax seals on and the lids. I haven't got any gingham at this stage. I think that's more if I'm giving it as a gift, really. But we didn't actually end up having this in a cake or anything like that. We just had it on toast. Free for me, free for me partner. And they've all gone. So that's actually my old cooker there, or hob should I say. We've been moving, so there hasn't been any videos for a wee while, and you can tell how old this video is because that's no longer there. I've got a brand new cooker that you'll see with I've got, I think, 2 more videos to edit and put voiceovers, and then you will see my new cooker. So, well, our new cooker, me and my partner's new cooker. So yeah, cool, huh? So in any moment now we're going to go to cherry jam, so I'll join you back there. So we've got cherry jam now, and I actually used frozen cherries for this and then thawed them because I thought liquid is one of the kind of enemies when you're making jam. You want not so much liquid, it can be a bit of a, it can let you down in some way. The less liquid the better. So I defrosted them, that got rid of a lot of water, and then got some kitchen towel and dried them off with that as well. So I kept the juice. I can't remember what I used it for, but I wanted to kind of use that. Maybe I put it in a smoothie or something like that, but I can't remember. But I used it for something baking anyway, because it was worth keeping. So that's the cherries there. What I do before you heat them up at all to avoid burns again is to get just a potato masher and crush them up. They are seedless, but just make sure, just so no one has got a cherry pip to, again, we've got a lemon. Make sure that you don't bite on that, it's not very pleasant, is it? So, lemon juice there, added again, good preservative. You want the juice of one whole lemon in there, basically. It's around about 3 tablespoons you should get out of that. So a good tip might be to microwave the, I was going to say onion, microwave the lemon for about under 20 seconds anyway, depending on how powerful your microwave is. And apparently that gets out more juice. Now I don't know if that's a bad thing to do or what, but again I'm using Tate & Lyle 1:1 jam sugar, so you got the pectin in that already, so you don't have to add it separately. But yeah, if not, if you don't want to use the microwave technique with the lemon, is to roll it on your kitchen surface, and that seems to draw out a lot more juice as well. So if you don't trust the microwave thing, here we go, we're going to add the sugar. Again, all the quantities will be in a recipe that you can print off in the description below. So at the end of this video there is a better version of the technique if you do not have a jam thermometer. So that will be available to watch. I shall point that moment out with some kind of sound effect. And this is the moment when I started using the potato masher, which don't do. Do it before you put the jam in. Don't do as I say, no, don't say as I do. Do as I say, kind of thing, but in a non-demanding way. So yeah, maybe not add the sugar after you've mashed it, basically. So we're just gonna heat that up now on the hob. Mash, mash, mash. So a good recipe to follow is 750 grams of cherries, 500 grams of your sugar. Now if you're using granulated sugar, there's usually packets of pectin that you can get. I'd add the 500 grams of sugar and then the pectin into that as well, but the one I've got has already got the pectin in it, so yeah, that clears up. The juice of 1 lemon, and it's got about 3 tablespoons that works out as. So we've got that all nice and mashed together now. There. And again, use the biggest pan that you can, because again, you just don't want to potentially burn or scald yourself. And I wouldn't mash the fruit while it's hot, because that is a big risk of you burning yourself. So we're going to simmer them until very, very gently. So I've got it on about a medium heat there until they're cooked. Usually takes about 5 to 8 minutes, something like that. I'd add the sugar then after about 5 to 8 minutes, when you can see that it's gently simmering away. So don't put it in straight away like I did there. Again, that'll be in the description. And I'll just get to the point now where it's boiling. Now you've got that point where it's boiling. You want to make that boil for about 10 minutes or so, like that. Again, I preferred with this to use a wooden spoon. If you give it a good stir after 10 minutes, check the back of the spoon, and there shouldn't be any sugar crystals on the back of the spoon. It should all be incorporated into it with no crystals. If there is crystals, you need to boil it a little bit longer. Give it another 4 or 5 minutes. So that at that point then, when all the sugar crystals have dissolved into the jam, you should test it with your thermometer. It should be 105, nothing much more than that, and if it's any less than that, continue to boil it at the top heat, complete high. But the highest temperature you can get it to on your cooker, say that again, get that as hot as you can, but make sure on your thermometer it doesn't go over 105, because that's your ideal temperature for the jam to get it to set. So it should be at a point when you have got it at the right texture. It should kind of crinkle, and it should be quite tacky as well. So you can do that with the technique. If you haven't got your jam thermometer, get a plate which has been in the freezer for about half an hour, just put a little drop on there, and after about 10 seconds you should be able to touch it. Be very careful, but because it's instantly touched a frozen plate, it should be fine, but do approach with caution. Again, this is the reason why it's better to get a jam thermometer. And you should just wrinkle it, run your finger through the jam, and it should form a crinkle and be tacky, and that's when you know you've got it at the right temperature. And if it's not, for any reason, there's no harm in boiling it for another couple of minutes at a time, and keep retesting it, and if it's not ready, just reboil it again. You're not doing any harm to that jam, or it's not gonna ruin it or anything like that. There's no harm. And again, when you got to that stage, you can ladle it into your jars, and do use a funnel, and it just for your own safety and no burns and scars. We don't want that here. And then once you've done that, you have to allow it to cool, and I'd recommend a really cool dark place like a cupboard, and it will keep for years. But you're best eating it within the first year of making it. And once you've opened it, make sure to store it in the fridge. So there we go, that's all the tips I can give really. You can see that's boiling away, and just at the end of this video I'm going to show you the frozen plate technique to make sure that your jam is completely set. So here's that moment I was talking about, it wrinkles, and that means that it's ready. So I hope you enjoyed that, and do feel free to download and share the recipe below. There'll be little elements to colour in and things like that. And if you've got any recipe suggestions or any comments or anything like that, please feel free to share them. And I shall see you in the next video, where I'm going to be using this jam to make a gluten-free, dairy-free Black Forest gatto. And that recipe will be easy to adapt for anyone to enjoy. So I shall see you in that video. Take care and bye for now.